Hello, my lovely Taurus collective, Taurus Sun Moon Rising, or a lot of Taurus in your chart. This is your reading for the week of August 17th, or when you hear it and it resonates. And of course, it won't be for everybody. Taurus, my dears, the first thing that I see with you is I see my mother's old enamel meat grinder. She didn't use it for meat, but she used it for breadcrumbs when she would make stuffing. And it was... And I see you over this thing and you're grinding and you're grinding and you're grinding and you're getting some kind of pleasure out of actually doing the grinding. But as I zero in, you look over and there is an automated one. You can plug it in, you can go, it's going to be done like that. But there's still a part of you that even though you have access to this, are still coming back to the old way. Now, I think what's important here, they're pointing out to me, is it's my mother's meat grinder that I'm seeing. It's not any other that I've seen after. It was specifically hers. So I feel as though this goes back for you to, actually, I'm going to say a maternal situation. And I say that specifically because my father also had one that he used in his business. His was silver. I'm not seeing his. I'm seeing my mom's. So I feel like this does go back to childhood in some way and possibly related to mothering. Mothering, here we go. Mothering as learning how to nurture yourself. They say that, I've heard it said, specifically I remember Gabrielle Roth, R-O-T-H, speaking about it, saying that we learn how to nurture ourselves based on seeing how our mothers nurtured themselves. And so there may be issues here for you going back, and it may not even just be how they nurtured themselves. It might have been how they were able to nurture you. Because if a mother is not taking care of herself very often, she won't be able to take care of her children. Correct? And there are reasons why mothers cannot take care of themselves sometimes. Sometimes it is emotional, sometimes it is physical, sometimes it is medical, in other words. There are a lot of different reasons why it can happen. Sometimes it's culture, and there's just a certain way of approaching parent-child relationships that doesn't allow for a lot of that tenderness and that supportive quality that will often come through in tender moments. So what you're getting here, my dears, is this. There is perhaps a tendency as you are coming upon these new ways of looking at life and deciding what you're capable of having, what you're allowed to have, what you like to have. Sometimes it's almost as though, I'd like that meat. I'd like a different way of grinding these breadcrumbs, but I'll just stick with this because, well, it's familiar and I know how to do it and it's not so bad. But you're not meant to be living with not so bad anymore, Taurus. You're meant to be living with great. Wow, fantastic. Of course I deserve that. So what you're getting told here, is this. There may be issues from the past that are stopping you from living, wow, great, sticking you to, that's okay, I can manage. Because the truth is, you're not really enjoying the managing anymore. It's not enough for you. And in the past, it possibly hasn't been enough for you either. But without changing that, you just brought other things into your life to maybe excite it. It might have been trips. It might have been relationships. It might have been different hobbies or things that would kind of carry you through the humdrumness or the working of this. But chances are not a lot, and probably not in any way for many of you, not in any way that really elevated you out of the attitude of, it's okay, I'll just put up with it, right? What you're being told now is, no. Now it is time for you to really start looking at where you have given up on certain things because it was just expected that it wouldn't happen. Can you surrender into where you are now as a way to be able to really understand your sacred self in a way where you're able to have compassion for yourself, where you're able to get curious about what it is that might be able to change without feeling like you have to apologize for being who you are. You're being told that intuition is a part of your life, and your ability to get information from spirit. And now the tingles are starting. When you're able to get information from spirit, when you allow yourself to get out of that contracted apology for yourself mode, or must put up, must manage, because that energy, look at that, it's a contracted energy. What we want is, wow, great, and thank you. This kind of openness, because that's where the intuition comes in. Compassion leads you to be able to discern rather than judge, right? So you can discern where your life's out of balance and where it might want to go. And you can do it without judging yourself for it. This is not about you needing to fix something in yourself in order to be able to evolve into a different experience of abundance in your life. This is really about you understanding the fact that, something really powerful came in earlier today. And it was the idea that whatever label we want to put on ourselves, putting labels on ourselves in order to be able to discern, are we ADHD? Are we on the autism scale? Do we have attachment disorders? Which archetype are we? They're all fine. They're all wonderful, because they can help give us a context and a reference point against which we can evaluate our perceptions, our attitudes, our beliefs. We can evaluate them when we've got something against which to reflect. It doesn't mean that we need to own, I am this. I have aspects of this. I have aspects of that. The problem with labeling things, I feel, is that sometimes we take the label on so much that we now just decide we're going to identify ourselves with this, and therefore, we're just going to stay that. We're just going to reinforce all of that with our belief that we are this. Can we say, yes, I, for example, I am ADHD, and I understand that. Knowing that now helps me understand some of the stresses that I had when I was a child, helps me understand some of the coping mechanisms I developed. And by the way, wasn't I brilliant to come up with that by myself at the age of 15, 17, 24, whatever, before anybody was talking about all of this? Can you use these things, in other words, as a way to reflect upon yourself without then having to identify yourself as I am this? Because remember, I am is the great phrase of creation. It's the power. It is the I am that I am. So that's why I say identifying with it in a way where you take on that identity, as opposed to reflect and say, those behaviors are true to me. And there's also this. And you're being told this really importantly, remembering in the process of this that we don't want to go, I am this thing that explains the things I perceived as deficiencies or inadequacies before. We don't want to own that in a way where we reinforce the sense of inadequacies. If we can use it as a way to be able to understand ourselves so that we can be compassionate and kind, wonderful. And now can we move beyond that by remembering that you are more than your personality, that you are spirit, that the other part of you, the higher consciousness, which is embracing all of you, is bigger than anything down here. The I am that I am is way more than anything down here. So you're being asked, remember that while you're researching, while you're allowing yourself to surrender into true understanding of yourself now, because many of you are really doing that deep dive or tiptoeing around the deep dive, at least to be able to get ready for it. Remember, please remember, whatever else is going on at a psychological or physiological level, there is above and beyond anything the spiritual component. And when you can remember that that is the truest nature of who you are, then it makes it a lot easier for you to lovingly, compassionately, prayerfully remember the sacred and surrender into whatever state you're in as a way to move forward, to grow from it in loving awareness of yourself, to move beyond that. Taurus, I'm going to leave you with that. I think that was a bit long, but I think it was really important. Much love, my dears. Thank you so much. I so appreciate your comments. I really do. And of course, everything that you say to me, I read, whether or not I address it in a lengthy paragraph. I do remember, and I do see you, and I do appreciate you, because without you people listening, there's no point in me doing this. And I really do love to do this. So thank you very much. Take good care. Much love.